I want the higher position. All right, double your CPC and you can get there. So Google penalizes you with ad spend and cost per click, essentially, if you have a slow website.
It's such a noted point of hypocrisy from us. This is the balance of risks that you get to, decide on your own. And it will never not be an issue. You can double the cost of your traffic with this one problem, this one issue, this one error. So some CRO best practices. Somebody asked earlier about a theme. Shopify actually has a theme called the Light theme. So don't confuse my note here with saying choose that theme specifically. Make sure you choose a theme that's lightweight. And you can tell that often, A, there's 1,000,000,001 forums of people talking about what the best theme is and why. And B, when you're looking at the demo for the theme, you can usually tell how quickly the demo loads. And that can be a solid indication of how well that theme is going to load. If you've got a good developer, a really good developer can make phenomenal inroads from a speed perspective. But I wouldn't rely too heavily on that. Not least of which because even if they improve your site speed, and this has happened to us quite a few times, the minute there's a major update, like if Shopify changes their code base, a lot of what that developer customized goes away. So you want to make sure that your website can be fast as it stands without too much heavy customization, because if you rely on heavy customization, there's no telling when that customization is forced into obsolescence, and now you're back to being reliant upon the foundational utilities. We want to make sure that you're scaling your images properly. I see this a lot. I've made this mistake a lot, where you've got a 2,000 pixel image in a spot that will only take a 500 pixel image. So there's really easy tools that you can use online to make sure you're resizing images correctly. But this is a real quick and easy win for page speed. And to be honest with you, in some cases for mobile loading, because oftentimes what you notice on a mobile device is the device loads the site in its entirety first and then scales it down. And so this can kind of improve engagement too. John, did I see you gearing up to pipe up?
Nope. No, I was going to say the theme updates from a customization theme. We've run into this issue a few times, and that's kind of why we're speaking about it. But heavy custom themes, which is where they kind of ignores the framework that is Shopify, or a theme that is standard to like WooCommerce or BigCommerce, or a theme that's kind of standard in the industry. When you have themes that possibly can have a forced update, we see this a lot with WordPress. WordPress has, they kind of force you to update their themes, or the website just doesn't work anymore. So when you look at heavy customizable themes, you can still use them. But one thing to be considerate of is updates to those themes sometimes wipe custom code. And the custom code could be your Google Tag Manager, your analytics, and your conversion tracking, your remarketing tags. So those type of non-standard implementations can be wiped, where you might update the PHP version of your WordPress site, and there's a small update that happens on the back end, and it kills possibly a plugin, or that page no longer loads quickly, and all of a sudden conversion tracking just goes away, and you're not exactly sure why. So those are important to know, that anytime that there's a website update, I can't tell you how many times, so it's probably been over 100 times, where all of a sudden conversion tracking just stopped because of a website update. So that's going to be something that's going to be very important, especially in Google Ads, because Google has a 2-day rule. After 2 days of non-activity, Google stops learning. And so if you're losing conversion tracking for 4, 5, 6 days, and then you restart, it's not like it's going to be restarting from scratch, but that restart after 5 or 6 days of inactivity, you're going to have a little bit of a relearning period for possibly a week or two before you find a level of normalcy. And that's sometimes a little bit painful, especially if you're in higher spends or you've been finally scaling up to a specific degree. So we usually recommend having a developer, not that you have to pay $500 a month for just to kind of hang out, but someone that you trust and that can work quickly. That if you see, or if they know that a website update is coming, you can retest your conversions. Make sure that your conversions are still working properly and the code's still at least found on the page. Because that is something that we've had starts and stops and sputters for a long time, and it just becomes a nightmare to try to scale Google or at least get some level of normalcy and consistency. So just be wary about any sort of updates that come to the site. You'll see in our checklist, we do it weekly, that we check conversion tracking for all of our clients. That's a part of our SOP, that every single week we check conversion tracking. Even if it's been 2 years, we still check it. So that's just something that be mindful of.
This is not a glitch. I'm interrupting the video you're watching because I want to remind you that we provide done-for-you Google Ads services. We're the #1 ranked Google Ads agency on the planet with almost $100 million in ad spend under management. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, C-level exec, director of marketing, and you're managing your own Google Ads, I think that's a massively inefficient use of your time. As a matter of fact, in my experience, within 90 days, we're able to optimize existing campaigns to a point to where we're paying for ourselves. We move from being a cost center to a profit center, and I want to put my time and my money where my mouth is. If you're spending $10,000 a month or more in Google Ads, I want to offer you a free, no obligation action plan. A high-level member of my team, one of our strategists, will look at your account, open the hood, and do a full diagnostic and explain everything that we would recommend that you change in order to optimize your campaigns. You can take that, do it yourself, you can hand it to an internal member of your team, or in an ideal world, you can hire us. I'd love the opportunity to earn your business. Please go to sol8.com. That's SOL, the number 8.com. Request your free action plan. Until then, back to your regularly scheduled program. Cool. Decrease the weight of images, which is, kind of a cool little pro tip from Yvonne. Thank you, Yvonne. Aha. Limit the amount of plugins and apps. It's such a noted point of hypocrisy from us, because on one hand, you get on calls with us and we're talking to like Scott and going back and forth on, and you can do order bumps and here's what Zipify does. And we just like, we're kids in candy stores when it comes to some of the things that are possible. And then on the other end, I'm like, well, don't use too many apps or plugins because it's going to slow down your site. This is the balance of risks that you get to, decide on your own. And it will never not be an issue. And it's just something to be cognizant of and play with. There's a lot of information out there as to what plugins tend to slow down sites. And so I would just recommend doing that research before going all in on something that might, not necessarily improve site speed. I've also noticed that this isn't something that people pay a lot of attention to, which is shocking to me. Carlos mentioned ClickFunnels earlier. Like ClickFunnels site speed is so horrible, like so abysmal. And it's a landing page company, and it just makes you wonder, like, how on earth did you lead pages isn't any better. So just because this is important and it's an axiom, don't expect the creators of these products to have figured this out for you. Like, you need to advocate on your own behalf.
It's so important too that smart shopping campaigns usually hover around the 56 cents cost per click. That's where usually smart shopping campaigns, if we took an aggregate total of all of our campaigns right now that we're running, it's usually about
Regina did that. Who's on the call? I said Regina did that. Who's on the call?
Yeah. So let's just say about 50 cents. Your site speed being slow can bring that up to $1. And so that's where it's super important to understand that. And when 50 cents up to $1, it's like, yeah, that stinks. But if you think about it, you cut your traffic in half, or you double your
cost. Yeah.
Right. So Google makes you pay to play when you're not following by their best practice. It's like, okay, so your landing page score is low, which drove down your quality score. Now your quality score is low. We're going to give you a lower position for it. Yeah, we want the higher position. All right, double your CPC, and you can get there. So Google penalizes you with ad spend and cost per click, essentially, if you have a slow website. So again, I know we're kind of harping on this, but just don't overlook it.
But it's important to harp on. I mean, listen to what John just said, y'all. You can double the cost of your traffic with this one problem, this one issue, this one error. Mm-hmm. So it's really important that we spend some time here, because this is an important thing to improve upon. And Shopify, I know not everybody's on Shopify, but if you want a Shopify theme, Shopify has a directory of Shopify developers that you can draw upon, and it's cool because you can see reviews and work that they've done, etc. So it might be worth, if you're on Shopify, going and finding somebody who's Shopify specific. And I always ask to see, because everybody says they can do it when they're trying to earn the gig. I ask to see, show me the fastest site that you've built. And then they show it. And I'm like, all right, now show me the second fastest site that you built. And I want to see at least 3 successful implementations before I'm confident that you're really going to be able to pull this off. And don't ask for 3 on the front end, because they'll go find 3. Ask for them one at a time, because you got to like rope them into being a little bit more honest than they might have been otherwise.
And run those websites through PageSpeed Insights. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Limit the amount of products that are displayed on certain pages. I actually like long form pages because it keeps, it can improve your time on site. There's ways to do this though, to where you have a long form page that loads as the user tries to scroll, instead of somebody landing right on the page and having to sit there while 100,000 products load. One note, don't aim for 100 out of 100. You're not going to get it. I don't think I've ever seen an e-commerce site, especially on mobile. Has anybody had it? Anybody?
Google can't.
Google can't. Yeah, exactly right. Google can't get 100. We're not going to get 100. I've seen it in the 90s. I'm thinking of the lighting company. Remember them? I've seen it in the 90s. I think if you're like at an 80 out of 100, that would be.
They're in the 90s, but those are the type of companies that's like, we have 300 grand ad spend this month. What can you do? So
Right.
just, yeah.
It's
like that. I always say it's like that funny car, like the drag car that they're like doing a quarter mile in 4 seconds. Like, how to get down to 3? It's like, we're going to need like $1 million.
Yeah.
So
well, and that's a really good point too. Every point that you improve past a certain point, it's incremental returns for costs that are so substantial. It's probably not worth it. Yeah. Cool. Gather round, everyone. 'Tis case study time. I was going through a list of our highest performing e-commerce clients, and this is anecdotal, but 4 out of 5 of them have dog ugly websites. And hopefully they never watch this video. But they're actually really bad.